Yeah, so a lot of the reasons, is all the above. Last minute financing issues, disagreements over working capital is often the one I see frequently, and then the seller backing out of the terms. Um, you know, if there's sellers in the call, we're going to unpack, deal terms at a high level. You know, Occasionally buyers will come to the table at the end of diligence and look to change some of the deal terms. So just something to think about. So what are the key phases of exit planning? You know, if you're an owner thinking about your exit plan, what does it look like? It starts with a business readiness assessment. Is your business actually ready to be sold and exchanged? You know, if it is, what are the value enhancement strategies you need to implement um, in order to either get yourself in a position for sale or really maximize the value? What do those strategies look like? Um, when your business is ready, you've done some value enhancement strategies. You know, when what is the right exit strategy? A lot of that is, the timing of the sale. Um, what kind of exit strategy are you looking for? Are you going to appeal to a certain type of buyer, strategic, maybe a capital group or an independent sponsor? These are all things you need to think about during this exit planning phase. And lastly, it's execution in a transition plan. Who are you going to hire or bring in your deal team in order to execute your exit plan and really get yourself across the finish line? So these are the four buckets we're going to cover, at a high level today. So why do you prepare to sell? Like, why prepare? Uh, Many entrepreneurs who successfully run businesses are unsure how to navigate the sale process. Selling a business is, you know, a multifaceted process which requires meticulous planning and oversight. Without planning, you're setting yourself up to potentially sell at a lower price than your business is worth, um, rush through the sale process, and not get everything you need. If you're a owner of a legacy business, you've likely have worked in starting and running this business for 10, 20, 30 years. Your legacy is on the line, so it's very important that you have meticulous planning and oversight during the sale process. And lastly, a well-prepared business attracts more buyers. If we think about economics, if there's more buyers interested in your business, the likelihood is your business will actually sell for more. People attract to things that check a lot of the boxes. And when there's a lot of interest in your company, you can command a higher price more often than not because you have negotiating leverage. On the flip side, if you have certain elements of your business which are unattractive to buyers, think poor financial data, lack of management team, etc. These are concerns that most buyers will raise yellow or red flags for, and ultimately they could walk away from your transaction or renegotiate and ask for a lower purchase price due to some of these factors. So with preparation, it is an immediate increase to your potential sales price with a few key changes. So some of the key factors to consider before selling. Now let's think. This is your, growth plan, exit readiness plan. Um, you want to start with thinking about, the timing. While no one has a crystal ball, there are certain economic factors of when businesses should go for sale or not. Uh, Aligning yourself with a seller broker or investment bank who's familiar with the industry, they can better speak to this, but there are often good times and poor times in order to list your business. So that kind of does matter in terms of when you go to market. Financial preparation, and this is a key one, which needs to be started earlier in the process. If you're a small business owner and you may have neglected or been too busy to keep accurate financial records, you need to hire someone to start the preparation of cleaning up your books or seek third-party assistance to really get your financial data in good working order. Um, I will, I will emphasize this again. Buyers often are very discouraged from businesses which have issues in elementary accounting of their business. If there are revenues and expenses being reported inaccurately, this can actually paint a bad picture of what otherwise might be a good business. So if you're a business owner and you have a strong business in your view, but you're just lacking that proper financial reporting, seek third-party help. Think bookkeepers, fractional CFOs, etc. As a business owner, I understand and empathetic that these are real costs that you'll have to burden, but if you can prepare your financials in a clean and accurate manner, it is an immediate attraction for buyers, so it's highly recommended. Risk mitigation. One of the key yellow flags is buyers will look to see that there's not an over-reliance on you as an owner in the business, in the day-to-day operations of the business. So how is that mitigated? It is mitigated by developing and hiring a competent management team that will be with the business following transaction close. This is kind of very important, and one of the 3 or 4 buy boxes buyers will look at when they're first analyzing your business. You may get questions such as, who are the key management members of your company? If you say, we don't have many, or there's a few, but they're new employees, these begin to raise concerns for potential business buyers. If you're a larger business, some of these buyers may look to purchase the business but not plan to work in the day-to-day operations. Think, if it's a private equity buyer, they will likely want you to stay on for a limited role. So they need to be convinced that there's a proper management team in place, even if even if you move on as the owner and day-to-day operator. So ways to mitigate this is review your organizational chart and start to think about, who are my key employees? And if you're missing some of these individuals, let's start hiring today and building them into the company to prop up the value and attractiveness of your business operations. Growth plan. While most businesses, legacy businesses, are purchased based on historical financial data, a prospective buyer will want to know, what's the growth plan and what does the next 12 to 36 months look like? This is a question you likely will be asked, so I do encourage you to prepare yourself with at least an appropriate answer. Things like, we should be doing revenues in line with last year. I expect a 10 to 15% growth from the prior 2 years, etc. These are attractive buzzwords to prospective buyers. More importantly, they will often double click on this. So be prepared to not only have a few remarks about what does the growth plan look like, but actually be able to point to tangible items in your business in order to properly convince them that this growth plan is realistic and not a cheesy sales pitch. Those can be easily detected. So I do caution you to think about your growth plan and just be open and honest with buyers as they do engage and pique interest into your business. And the last thing, before you do sell, and this can be during the exit readiness preparation, think about if you're personally ready to move on from your legacy business. Think about your post-sale goals and financial needs. So what does that look like? A lot of sellers I speak with, they have certain financial figures in mind. Think I want $5 million at cash at closing at the time of sale in order to fund my retirement. 10 million, 1 million, the number doesn't matter. The thought exercise is what I'd like to emphasize in the personal readiness bucket you need to think about before considering selling. So some of the importance of an early exit planning. We touched on these. It speaks to maximizing business value. That's the objective. A reasonable business owner is not going to spend money hiring outsourced accountants, bookkeepers, hiring key employees without an end goal in mind. You're doing all of this to, one, you actually may improve the operations of your business and produce more value in terms of profit. Additionally, you're also maximizing and improving your business value. These things go hand in hand, and they allow you time to improve your financials, streamline operations, and enhance your brand positioning in whatever market you do choose to play in. Reducing risk. Identifying potential deal breakers in advance helps address legal, financial, and operational concerns. As a financial due diligence provider, I often work with buyers and sellers to identify financial items which will be potential red flags during due diligence. Some of those items include heavy owner and personal expenses in the business, a accounting issue in terms of revenue recognition and expense recognition. And lastly, there's tax and compliance issues you need to be completing on a year-by-year basis. And if you don't, those findings may materially impact your deal for a prospective buyer who's seeking bank lending, et cetera. The importance of early exit planning also improves your negotiating power. A well-prepared business will attract better buyers, and if there are more buyers, you have leverage. Leverage turns into the form of higher valuations, more negotiating power, etc. It's a win-win for business owners. And avoiding the last-minute pressure, if you're trying to do all of these exit plannings during due diligence, it's too late. You can try to clean up your books, but it will be easily spotted by CPAs and financial due diligence providers, buyers engaged to analyze your company. And it may result in the prospective buyer of your business passing due to poor financial reporting. He or she may not be as attracted to the business due to some of these blemishes of your business. And it avoids you to take your eye off the ball. I often see sellers who are trying to clean up the books and really trying to work with the buyers to get this deal closed. They often will spend so much time on the deal, they actually neglect their business, which leads to short-term revenues and profit declines, which can be expected if you're spending a lot of your time during the deal process. The challenge is if this deal falls through, which very often these deals actually don't reach the closing table. Not only have you spent a bunch of time not working on your business may also perform poorly during the due diligence period. So it's kind of like a lose-lose situation. So if you have a well-prepared business, a management team in place, it's really setting yourself up for success during your day-to-day business operations, as well as during due diligence and prospective sales. So let's talk about, exit planning. What are some of the buckets? Those kind of include things such as personal, financial, and business. Some of the business ones, which I spoke on, are succession planning. What does that look like? Are you going to have a succession plan for someone in your family to take over the business? Do you want to sell it? We spoke to a lot of the sales of it, But there's other things to kind of think about, throughout this process. So when to start planning your exit? Ideally, it's 3 to 5 years before selling. The reason is it allows you time. Time cannot be purchased. It cannot be, everyone has 24 hours in a day. You need time to thoughtfully clean up your business if it's needed. These time and doing it ahead 3 to 5 years before selling ensures you have a smoother ownership transition, whether it's a buyer, independent sponsor, private equity firm, etc., to set yourself up for success. So what is the business readiness assessment? And this is something I love to think about. Is your business ready for sale in the form of an assessment? So you assess the financial health of your business. You review profit margins, revenue trends, tax efficiency, management succession, identify leadership gaps, transition plans, operational risks, reduce dependency on key personnel, and streamline processes. Are you dependent on you as the owner to perform certain operational duties? That could be a challenge. Market position. How do you fare in the market you're currently working in? Are there ways you can strengthen your competitive advantage compared to your peers in an industry? For example, if you're a roofing company in Florida, look at the other competitors in your market and think to yourself, what are they doing better than me? Whether it's marketing, sales, they have a larger management team, etc. What are some easy things and quick wins I can do in order to strengthen my competitive advantage for prospective buyers? So what is the impact on, this business readiness planning on valuation in the transition? It ultimately, I think, enhances your business on an immediate basis. Think if you can better articulate your financial reporting abilities, how much profit you're making on a daily, monthly, quarterly, and yearly basis, you have a better grip on your business. This could improve cash flow, operations, sales, etc. It also provides stability to your operations. Transition planning reduces disruptions and maintaining business performance during changes. If you have employees that leave, if you're able to build out a complete organizational team, you can sustain those blows during key employee transitions, which always occur more often than not in business. It adds customer and supplier confidence. A structured transition reassures stakeholders that you're going to preserve these relationships and contracts. If you have a customer and supplier with a 30-year history or 20-year history, those are good things buyers like to see. The reason is it's reasonable to assume that these customers will stay with the business going forward. Whether it's project-based revenue or recurring revenue, that relationship matters to buyers. It gives them confidence in certain revenues they'll be expected, and they can pencil those in going forward. Again, no one has a crystal ball, but the longer a customer is in business with you, the more confidence they will continue to be in business going forward. It also helps with employee retention and morale. If your employees are constantly scrambling, doing multiple jobs, and there's improper communication, this could lead to employee turnover, challenges with the business, decreases in profitability, etc. So getting your house in order, as I like to call it, really helps retain key talent. Key talent can also be key management people buyers like to see. If you have someone who is working hard in your business and you think they're manager material, encourage them. Keep them engaged with your business and try to retain them to the extent possible. Not only will they add value to your business, but they could more often than not be some of those key management people buyers will look to during this prospective sale. So, how do we attract the right buyers? Now, when we think about the buyers we want to attract, here are some, potential ones. You have strategic buyers. So, strategic buyers are peers in your industry. They could be larger. Occasionally, they're smaller than you. So, think um, competitors. If there's a competitor in, you know, if we go back to the example of the roofing, if there's a competing roofing company, they could be a strategic buyer in your industry. There are private equity firms who have funds dedicated for certain industry niches. So there could be equity firms who focus on B2B service companies, HVAC, landscaping, etc. Are you looking for that type of buyer? Is your buyer going to be a key employee or in the form of a management buyout? Um, these are, another way to transition your business. And lastly, financial buyers are individuals such as self-funded searchers, independent sponsors, or private wealthy individuals who are looking to purchase your business. They may not be in industry. They may be funding this potential buyout in the form of an SBA loan if it's under $5 million or other conventional lending. So those are the types of buyers you will likely see when you do think about selling your business. So the business sale process, step by step. So what does that look like? This is a brief overview. It starts with evaluating your current business status. Analyze the stability, operational effectiveness, and market standing. If you're ready and you check that box, it's time to formulate an exit plan. What type of objectives are you looking to achieve? What is your ideal valuation? And what is your buyer profile? Think buyer profile, strategic buyer, individual investor, private equity fund. Private equity funds are attracted to larger businesses. Think EBITDAs greater than 3 million at a minimum. If you're between 1 and 3, you may seek other buyers, but that's food for thought. From there, you can start to enhance your financials and operations. If there's needs for cleaning up your financial books and records, you could start to do this quickly during this process. It's not recommended, but with time, you could probably clean up your books in 4 to 6 months, maybe shorter if you're working with a very a firm with a deep bench. You could identify prospective buyers. Now, when we think about prospective buyers, you can leverage a broker for a commission will market the business on your behalf. If you're a larger company, you'll likely have to seek an investment bank which is a large group of employees who will sell businesses for a commission at close. Also likely a monthly retainer. When there is a prospective buyer identified, you'll go through what is called the due diligence period. This is typically a 90-day period where the buyer will bring in financial due diligence providers, legal providers, tax attorneys, etc., to do a deep dive on your business. If you're looking for help with due diligence, that is something I work with sellers all the time with. So I'd love to talk about it following this webinar. But I will say be well prepared for an extensive list of questions. They will ask for tax returns. Buyers will ask for bank statements, financial data, etc. Assuming you get through due diligence, you'll likely move into a purchase agreement time, which is the formal contract you will sign giving the keys over to the new buyer of your business. It is often recommended that you leverage a M&A attorney to formalize this agreement and make sure you get all the items you require. Additionally, if there are things that go wrong with the sale following closing, this is basically your Bible, which can be used in in case of lawsuits, etc. So do make sure you get this right. From there, you complete the transaction. You finalize the legal agreements, which is your purchase price, the PPA, execute the financial transaction, and you facilitate what hopefully is a prosperous transition for the incoming owner. The last thing I'll say about business sales and from an owner's view, if you're a business owner with a legacy business, in my opinion, it's very important that you ensure the smooth transition for this prospective buyer. First, for your employees currently. Unfortunately, I've seen some sales where the buyer is not set up for success following closing, and ultimately the business closes. While you're not concerned that the business closed following your departure, this has real impacts. Employees that may have worked for your company for over a decade are now unemployed. This could have material impacts to your community, the surrounding areas of your town, and really it's your legacy. So I encourage owners to work with buyers like they're a part of their family, because ultimately they're taking care of your legacy business, and it's in your best interests to facilitate a smooth transition following closing. So how long does it take to sell a business? We kind of touched on this. This number of days is subject to change. Think when you do have a buyer, finding and selecting a buyer, it is 90 days from there to complete closing. The process of how long it takes to list the business and find a selecting buyer, this chart says 1 to 90 days. I would say that's very ambitious. I've seen businesses that have been on the market for over 2 or 3 years. Some have been on there for 5 years. So your business will take as long as it needs to sell in order for you to get that price you're looking for and really set yourself up for success. The last thing I'll speak to on how long it takes to sell a business, these businesses will take as long as they need to sell. If there are material findings during due diligence, buyers likely will walk away from the transaction. I've seen several businesses that take 3 to 4 buyers in order to get one to the closing table. It is a combination of the buyer's ability to close. They may get cold feet. You may get cold feet. The deal terms may not be aligned with your objectives. So really think about, what is your time frame for selling? What does that look like? If you own a business and you're trying to sell it for a above market asking price, you likely will run into resistance, and it might take longer to sell. Certainly, if you prepare your business in business exit planning and it's ready for business and it's got a proper management team, it has a clear growth plan, you can sell your business quickly. If it does not, it may take long, or it actually may never sell. So just things to think about. I get often asked about timeline, so I just wanted to call it out. These are different exit strategies we kind of touched on. I just wanted to double click briefly. A strategic buyer, think someone, an industry competitor, or a complementary business looking for expansion. If we think about professional service firms, often strategic buyers may be accounting firms who are looking to buy a tax practice. They may be doing bookkeeping, but they're looking to expand their offering, so they will buy a niche professional service practice line in order to do so. There's other things, private equity, employees may buy it, or there's a management buyout. Just arm yourself and understand the different ways you can sell your company, because it does impact you as a potential seller. A couple mistakes to avoid. I list out 7. There's probably 20. Some of them include lack of planning. We touched on that. Failing to consider your options for exiting. There is no one way. We just highlighted about 6. Ignoring the market conditions. This speaks to having your business overvalued. There are several resources you can use in order to understand what is your business worth. While there's plenty of resources that can give you a quick answer, your business is worth as much as a buyer is willing to pay for it. While that's a loaded question, it is often the reality. If you have, the tools and market research, and your business is overvalued and it's lacking proper financials, key management, you're likely not going to sell your business. So I think you need, a lot of owners, be careful of the seller broker who pitches you the large valuation. In reality, they're looking to win listings, and they may not actually be able to deliver on these promises. So just keep in mind some of these mistakes before you go down the path of selling your business. We touched on this, but it's really ensuring, a smooth transition. That's the whole point of this. Train your key employees to continue on when you move on from the business. Communicate exit plans to stakeholders. I will caveat this with saying, in my opinion, it's not recommended to discuss a prospective sale until it is absolutely certain it will actually close. Unfortunately, I've seen instances where owners are too transparent to their key employees, and they discuss a potential sale, which ultimately actually doesn't close. The challenge with this is you do look honest and ethical in terms of open transparency, but employees get very nervous about potential ownership changes. And you can actually have deals that don't close, and you also will lose key employees if you're not careful about your communication. From there, ensuring you have a clear, financial advisor in terms of when you do get this large payout of your business, what are you going to do? Is it to fund your retirement? Is it to fund other businesses? Just kind of think about it. That is for a later conversation, but just wanted to call it out.